Hi there, Loy Machedo. Speaking to you from loymachedo.com. Who's Loy Machedo? Think Personal Branding. Okay, this video is going to be slightly long because it has more than 20 points. Okay, I'll put the timestamps a little later on. I'll put it down below. Now, the topic of this video is how can a girl, a young woman, choose the right man for marriage. Okay, young man, or they say, choose a nice boy to get married, like how Indian families say. And this video is predominantly, I think, will be applicable to Indian boys and Indian girls, or Indian men and Indian women. The reason being is there is a cultural difference between the Western culture as well as the Eastern culture. But given the globalization today, people travel, and then there is internet, and people get impacted by other people's lifestyle. There is a gray area. So, like I said, it's predominantly focused towards Indian men and Indian women. But you would see certain parts of the advice that I give that can be universally accepted. All right, that is the first thing that I want to tell you. The second thing, like I said, is the video will be slightly long, and the reason I didn't want to rush on this video is because I will just make this one video where I will state all the points. Okay, and so I really wanted to give it the best of what I can possibly give. Point number 3 is, when making this video, I asked myself, if in case tomorrow, let's say my daughter, she is 4 years old, if she were to ask me, Dad, how do I choose the right boy? So what is it of value that I can give my daughter? And when you take up the role as being a father, you really want to give true value to your children. So having said that, this video is going to be slightly long. I'm going to put in the best of the best that I can. I have these 20 points outlined, but the explanation, I'll go with the flow. Okay. So having said that, my request to you is, don't watch this video at one go. If you are watching this video, watch the video in slight bits and pieces, and mentally make a note as to which point would be applicable for you. And feel free to disagree with my points, because remember, I'm giving you my point of view. Maybe there is a different point of view. And like I said, there's no right, there's no wrong. There's always the right fit for every individual. Okay. So having said that, these are the 20 points that I feel are very important if a girl has to choose a boy for marriage, or a woman has to choose a man for marriage. Okay. And yes, it can be mainly applicable for Indian or Asian kind of culture, and less applicable for a Western culture. Okay, having said that, let's start. So when a girl chooses a boy or a young woman, let me say girl and boy, okay, because that's how we normally, that's how Indian families or Asian families say, you marry a good boy from a good family, or marry a good girl from a good family. So don't take it as underage children, girl or boy, that's the term I will use. Okay, so when a young woman chooses a boy to get married, the first point that I would state is, I would ask the girl, are you getting married to the boy, or are you getting married to the boy's family? Okay, boy or the boy's family. What do I mean by that? In the Asian culture, especially Indian, you will have joint families. Normally in the West, you will have, when a boy or girl grows up, they tend to leave the house, then they stay by their own, they go to a different part of the town, they take up an apartment, and then they live by themselves. Then they kind of enjoy the freedom, and they don't want to come back and stay with the parents and have restrictions. They want to do whatever they like, being independent. However, in most of the other families, especially in India, the boy, he might go to work wherever, but he'll come and stay with the family, and they tend to have a large house. And in many families, they have not only the boy stays with the parents, the brother might stay there, the sister might stay there, and in some cases you might even have joint families, like the father and the mother will stay in one area of the house. The brother might stay with his wife in another room. The next brother might stay with his wife in another. So, it's like a joint family. And in some other families, I've literally known this, where the grandfather, another grandfather, oh, say the main grandfather, then he has three sons and they stay with their wives and they have their children. So it depends. Okay, so are you marrying the boy or are you marrying the family? If you're marrying the boy, you only have to focus on keeping yourself and the boy happy. But if you marry an individual who is staying with the family, you not only have to keep the boy happy, you have to keep the mother and father happy, because remember, the young man, he has kept the mother and father at home, so obviously he is loyal and faithful to them. So obviously you not only have to satisfy the needs and wants of the parent of the boy, you have to take care of what the father wants, you have to take care of what the mother wants. And then if you have an extended family, you also have to give the same respect to various other members of the family. So then the pressure becomes a little bit more. And then if you're a working class professional, you have to go to work and then you have to come back and then maybe you'll have to take care of them. Maybe you'll have to participate in cooking. Maybe you'll have to participate in house cleaning. Maybe you'll have to eat together. Maybe you can't have your privacy. Maybe you need to take permission. Maybe if you are going out for a movie, you'll have to take their permission, or you can't just go out alone. You can't do things alone. Like if you bring something nice to eat in the house, you'll have to think of other members of the family. So yeah, all those dynamics get involved. So the first question that you need to ask yourself, are you marrying the boy or are you marrying the entire family? Okay, that's point number one. Point number two is the person, is the person wanting to marry you because the person has no option, few options, or many options. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, what do I mean by no option? Let's say the guy is not very rich. He's not very good looking. He's not very successful. He has not traveled the world. So obviously, one girl might be his entire world. He'll be like, oh, I love you. Can't live without you. I can't eat, cannot breathe, cannot sleep, because you're everything. He doesn't have any other person to express his feelings, his emotions. And that is why when you tend to have just that one girl who you're absolutely your whole world, you would want all the attention from the girl, all the sex from the girl, all the affection. You get what I'm saying. It's like the person becomes your friend, the person becomes your mentor, mentee. You want to talk to that person. Your whole world becomes that person. But on the other hand, if you I'm not saying obviously sex obviously in a marriage you should be loyal and faithful, unless some people have a concept of open marriage. I can have sex with them. Let's not get there. So now let's see the extreme end. One is that guy only knows this girl and nobody else. Extreme end, like I've been a playboy. I have had more than, I think, 400 girlfriends in the span that I was a playboy. You might think that's a very big number. I know there are DJs, there are celebrities who literally have a girl every single night for 20, 30 years. Calculate that. I personally know a DJ and a tattoo artist who literally get a girl every single night. Every single night. He has been doing this for 20 years. Okay, girls just want to have sex with him. Even though he's married and his wife doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, so my number that I give 400 is nothing to like, oh, wow. There are a lot of people who literally, and they live their whole life. That is why if you see some celebrity stars, they have more than 6,000, 7,000 women. Okay, because for them, sex is just like every new person, new partner. Okay, and in places like USA, Miami, girls just literally ask you, do you want to fuck? Do you want to have sex? They just walk up to you and just openly. So did the person have many options? Like I was saying, in terms of myself, I've had so many women in my life. Not so beautiful, tall, short, fat, slim, very, sexually driven, not at all sexually driven, very conservative, very modern, very liberal, working class, like housewife type. So I've had many different women in my life. Now, given that I finished all the craziness, all the madness and everything, luckily for me, I'm not addicted to sex. There are some people, even at the age of 60 now, even though they're married with grandchildren, they want to have sex. Okay, what age that you can figure. So in my case, I had that phase where I met so many women, and I finally chose one girl who I felt, yes, I know clearly what I want, and this is what I want. And I chose the girl based on a very clear idea. So Today, even now, I get girls who don't mind having sex, who are very open. Here, I have so many temptations, so many massage parlors, so many places where I can have sex. There are even these, apps, dating apps where girls literally tell you, I'm in, I don't mind an open relationship. Even if you're married, I don't care, as long as we can keep things between us. But I have crossed that phase and I'm not interested in it anymore. So if I were to compare me, I'm just giving my a guy was, if say Loy Machedo, who never saw a girl other than that one girl, versus Loy Machedo, who saw many girls, this Loy Machedo, who has seen the world, will be much more stable. Because today, even if I get temptation, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I I can literally, I'm telling you right now, I can go with my scooter, go to a massage parlor, go to a maybe an area where red light district, have sex, or even meet a girl. My wife cannot stop me, but I'm not interested. While on the other hand, a guy who has never seen temptation, never seen anything, for him, if he suddenly, just put across so much of temptation, they can go berserk. So I'm not saying that, okay, find a guy who has been having sex left, right, and center, who is promiscuous and who has literally 4, 5 women at the same time. No, don't take my advice in the wrong way. All I'm telling you is when a person has many options but yet chooses you, it is much better than a guy who has never had any option and only chooses you. Okay? Because as time progresses and you start becoming more rich or you start having more money, you travel more, you get more options, temptation becomes very hard. Okay? So, what kind of person did this person have an experience of the world, have options, and then chose you? Or is he like, is he so ugly, so poor, so dumb, so stupid that he doesn't have any other woman and he's choosing you? Because that also can be a problem. Because if tomorrow he does have an option, then he might think, oh, why did I choose this person? Now I can choose this person. Okay. That tends to be an issue. So, point number two. Point number three, what phase of their life are they in? See, by that, what I mean, age. See, someone who is, let's say, 20 years old has a certain level of maturity and experience. Someone who's 30 has 10 more, different level of maturity, different experience, number of years, 40, 50, 60. So as you grow older, you tend to be more mature. Now, that doesn't mean, oh, okay, Loy, in that case, should I take someone who's 90 or 100? No, don't take my advice in the wrong way. See, someone is 20, 30, 40. That is the age range by which you should choose if you're in your 20s, okay? What I would personally suggest to someone is, if you take someone who's in his early 20s, he doesn't have any work experience or hardly any work experience. He doesn't know what is business. He doesn't know what is traveling. He doesn't know what is the realities of life. He has to learn. But someone in their 40s would be much more. So you need to decide the person who's younger, who's not mature, versus someone who has seen the world and is slightly more mature. Like me, if I were to look at myself in my 20s versus what I am today, today I'm far, far, far more mature than what I used to be. So I would always say the older the person is, the more mature the person is, especially where a boy or a man is concerned. Okay. Point number 4. This is where quality over quantity comes in terms of age. What experience does a person have? Now, obviously, I told you, someone who's 20 will have 20 years of experience, but someone who's 30 has obviously 30. But then again, what is the quality of experience? I personally know a 22-year-old guy who has been working from the age of 11. Seriously, yeah? You might say, what work? He was working with his father's business from the age of 11 and he was treated like an adult. So the level of maturity that the guy has today, he has multiple businesses in 3 countries. He's dealing with multiple brands. He has people working under. He's far more mature. His net worth is, I think, 4, 5 times more than me. He's only 22 and he's very mature. I'm very, very mature. On the other hand, I also know someone who's in their 40, who's 45 or something, is older as me, a little bit, I think, old. He still stays with his mom and dad and they're earning a lot. And he's pampered. He doesn't even have a job. He's not even working. So you see the quality of experience that this 20-year-old has versus this 45. This guy is far more mature. Multiple businesses, investments, portfolios. He travels. He does his own thing. He's managing himself. While this 40-year-old plus is still, free, like a freeloader. So the quality of experience matters, and that is point number 4. Point number 5. When I had to choose my partner, I made sure that I met her parents, because the way the parents are, their religious beliefs or their upbringing would impact how the person is. See, I my wife, her mother, father were very hardworking. They were the type who would roll up their sleeves and work in the farm. They were very simple. They didn't spend money on unwanted things. They always believed in savings. They lived a simple life. They were very humble. And all these traits they transferred to the daughter. And almost every member in the family is more or less the same. So if you meet the parents, you can have a gauge of what the upbringing, the quality of upbringing would be. On the other hand, let me give you another person who is my ex-girl. Her father and mother used to literally fight like cats and dogs, and they used to argue and all that. And they always wanted to show off, and they always wanted to look good in society. Guess what? The daughter, even though her personality is different, she also wanted the same. She wanted to look good in society. She wanted to show off. And, obviously, after she got married, she believed that if you love each other, you have to fight like cats and dogs. Oh, goodness. I'm glad I never married her. So remember, meet the boy's parents, and you'll have an indication. Obviously, if you meet them first time, they will be at their Sunday best. So meet them over a duration of time, and then you'll get to see how do they behave. Let's say they're in the living room, they're watching television. How do they act? How do they behave? Do they work? Does the father help the mother, or does the mother do her own thing? Father does his own thing. Do they help each other? Do they eat together? Or does the father order the wife, you do this, you do that? Or, how it is. Understand the dynamics. Okay. That is point number 5. Point number 6. Every individual is not just impacted by the parent. Most of the time, the young man or woman is impacted by the friends, the quality of friends they keep, the school they go to, the environment that they have. So friends is very, very important. The quality of friends will decide the quality of the person. Let's say, for example, you meet your boyfriend, or you're hanging out with this guy who you plan to get married. Meet all his friends. How are their friends? Do they smoke? Do they drink? Do they gossip? Are they boisterous? Are they loud? Are they stupid? Do they love to watch movies? Do they love to hang out? Do they love adventure? Understand their personality. Understand what do they do as a group. Understand how do they think? How do they talk? Do they make fun of others? Do they mock? Do they gossip? Are they crazy about sports? Whatever traits the friends have, more or less the majority would be what your partner does have, but may not show you. And also observe, how does your partner behave with your friends, without your friends? When he's with all his friends, does he get bullied? Does he bully others? Does he joke? Does he joke about others? Does he talk smack? You know what it is. And I'll tell you, maybe they don't look the same. Maybe one guy's fat, one guy's thin, one guy's aggressive, one guy's peaceful, one guy's quiet. But it's not those small bits or the unique factors. It is the core. Because let's say, for example, they have a particular hobby, gaming, or they hang out in a bar, or they all smoke, or they sit in a particular. This core is what he will carry with him. Okay, so evaluate his character by the friends that he keeps, and I can assure you this, that will always continue throughout his life. Now, the only caveat here is, what if he doesn't have friends? Let's say, for example, me. What if he doesn't have friends? Then you need to evaluate, what does he do as a replacement for having friends. See, you have friends to chill out, right? Does he game? Does he go out for adventure? Does he go out for some sporting event? So there is where you can evaluate. If he goes out for a sporting event, does he go for bodybuilding? Only look at himself, admire himself. Gaming, is he into his bubble of world of doing things? Does he have a business, side business? Or does he like his privacy? He likes to be alone. So this will tell you more about him as an individual, friends or no friends. Okay. Point number 7. This point started very lately, and this is social media. Social media started in the last 10, 15 years. So what does he do on social media? How does he use it? Does he use it to promote his ideas and concepts? Is he biased about his ideas? Does he use it for political this thing? Does he create anonymous accounts and very bold and brave anonymously, but in real life he's very quiet? Does he show photographs of his abs, his sexy body? Does he show expensive cars? Does he show expensive house? Does he show his holidays? Or does he show you that, oh, this is my girl, she's very hot? And what does he use social media? Because remember, social media is what the person is an extension of the person and wants his image to be. He wants the world to know, this is who I am. But this is not what he really is. This is who he wants to be. Remember, that itself can play a major part in the relationship, because what he's trying to project to the world is what he fantasizes about. And if he's argumentative, if he's showing off, okay, if he's showing larger than life, if he edits his photographs, that itself can be a red flag. The biggest red flag of social media is when they bitch about others and especially air their dirty laundry or talk smack about others. Then I can assure you that is a massive red flag, because then tomorrow, when there is a problem between you and him, maybe he'll use it. That is why you see so many girls who use social media. When they have a fight, they'll put themselves crying and they'll show tears and they'll say, why can't anyone love me? Why do men have to? It's such an embarrassment. So social media is a very important key ingredient of a person. What does a person tries to show themselves as? Okay, evaluate that. If they both are different, then that itself is something of a concern. Point number 8. What does he show himself personally, okay, to you and publicly to others? With you, is he vulnerable and sweet and nice? Publicly, he's very strong. Oh, okay, then that itself is a clue. Like, for example, me, I'll give you me. When I'm at home, people think, oh, Loy gives advice to everyone. He is loud, bombastic and all. You'll be very, very surprised to know at home I'm very quiet. I just mind my own business. I like the privacy of my four walls. I don't like to interact with them, nothing. People, because I was a playboy, people think me and my wife have mad sex, romping sessions or crazy erotic stuff. Oh, if anyone were to ask my wife, she'll tell you, he hardly has sex. In fact, she has to remind me sometimes. It's not that I'm important. For me, sex is the last thing on my mind. I was crazy about sex in my steroid-filled younger days where testosterone was oozing out and, seeking attention. I was mad about pleasure and fun and girls. But today, it's a very different life. So privately, I'm very different. When I meet someone in real life, I'm, respectful, mind my own business kind of a thing. Just because I'm loud on social media doesn't mean I'm loud in real life. So I wear different hats. How I'm with my client is different from how I'm with my daughter, is different from how I'm with my wife, is different from how I'm with, freeloaders online. So I wear different hats. In the same way, the person that you're with would wear different hats. He'll be different with his father, mother, different with his friends, different with, you need to evaluate all this. And that takes time. Okay. You cannot get to know. And if the person is romantic, sweet, and lovey-dovey with you, that is not consistent. That is not practical. That is not reality. Remember, after the honeymoon phase is over, people tend to show the real side, especially when they're bored and they don't want anything from you. Remember this much. When men want sex, they can be very sweet and nice. Once the stomach is full like this, then they'll show you their real colors. Okay. That is why when a guy goes for a girl only for lust, or for paid sex, only for lusting for the female, after he has sex, he doesn't even want to touch the female, not even hug. And that is a massive red flag. After they have sex, if he doesn't touch you, he just wants, snoring and sleeping. Get away from me. That clearly shows a lot. Okay. Point number 9. How does that guy treat others? How does he treat people who are poor? How does he treat people he doesn't like? How does he treat members of, let's say, his group? How does he treat office colleagues? How does he treat his ex? How does he treat his enemies? That will tell you volumes of the person's character. Because remember, if he treats others like shit, who are poor or of no use to him, if he's disrespectful, he's not care, he will treat you the same way at some point in your life. And especially the way he treats his ex. If he's always, girls who always give boo-hoo-hoo sob stories. Oh, my ex was like this. I was so loving to take it from me. That is a massive red flag. If someone positions themselves as God's gift to mankind and everyone else is shit except them, that person will one day treat you the same. If, on the other hand, a person is respectful externally, even, and the way he treats people are unfortunate, that's a good signal. Okay. Point number 10, finances. This is so important where finance is concerned. Like, how does a person manage his finances? When he gets a salary, does he save something? Does he keep something for a rainy day? If he does that, that shows stability. But if, on the other hand, a person gets money and spends it all, and spends on his credit card and spends on a loan and takes, oh, that person's unstable. And especially if a person's impulsive and compulsive about spending. Me in my 20s, I was like that. Never saved. I think until the age of 36, I never saved. It was only after I crossed 36 did I start saving. And now, after the age of 40, I'm very particular. Every month I need to save. Every month I need to earn. Every month I'm very different with my finances. So the more mature the person is with these finances, in terms of savings, in terms of investments, he need not have stock shares and all that. But if he's smart about his savings, that speaks stability. Okay. And you need stability in a relationship. Point number 11. This one people tend to take for granted, but how is the person's health? Okay. By health, I'm talking, does he take care of himself in terms of physically, his teeth? Does he eat healthy? Is he a glutton? Does he eat just about anything and keep gaining weight? Does he take steroids? Does he is he health focused? Does he do exercise? If a person does exercise, that is like running, swimming, any kind of group activity, or even triathlon or other, that is amazing. Bodybuilding is more about showing off. I wouldn't call it fitness. Bodybuilding is more of showing off. That is also a kind of a narcissism and a kind of a red flag, slightly. I would not say all bodybuilders, but if he's using it to keep fit and look good and smart, yeah, that is good. But if he's using to have exaggerated muscles and show big and act like an alpha male, that can be a character flaw. Okay, so it depends. Don't take it. Just because he's a big bodybuilder doesn't mean he's bad. There are some really big guys who are very loving, sweet, and gentle also. Okay, so how does he take care of his health? And over there, let me just put a side note: grooming. If the person doesn't know how to groom himself, that just keep away from that person, even if it's not a red flag. I mean, there are some of them who stink, and I can't bear that. So health is important, and hygiene is also very important. Make sure the person is healthy and hygienic, because if a person takes care of his physical self, and naturally you're not Botox and surgery and all that, then the person values himself, and that is very good for a relationship. Point number 12. These are 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll be giving 4 vices. Point number 12, the first vice is smoking. Smoking impacts your mood swings. People generally smoke. One is out of, to reduce stress. When they're stressed, they just want to reduce the stress. Another one is when they are with their friends, they want to socialize. And third one is just out of habit. If a person smokes, that is not a good thing. Why? Because every time the person has stress, he needs to de-stress himself. Every time the person wants to socialize, they'll take out a cigarette just to blend in. For me, maybe because I don't smoke, I'm biased about smoking. But for me, smoking is a drawback. And if the person smokes, that itself proves very bad, not just physically, because physically, trust me, it will cause a lot of problems later, but also because, it shows the person's personality changes. So when they fight and argue, obviously smoke will be the only release for them. So smoking is slightly a red flag, not a very serious one, but a red flag nonetheless. Point number 13, the vice of sex. Given that I personally have experience in this area, sex can really be a game changer for a relationship. Let's say the person loves to have sex, okay, and you do not like sex so much. That can cause a problem. Let's say the person likes erotic sex or crazy sex. He wants to do back, front, up, down, and you don't like all this. Or let's reverse the table. Let's say you like plenty of sex and the person doesn't like sex. Or you like erotic sex and crazy sex and the person just likes straightforward sex, or is very boring in bed. That itself can hurt and harm a relationship. Or let's assume the person, or you can't satisfy. Then obviously the person will be distracted. And I know so many relationships where either the man or woman, because they are not satisfied, they seek sexual gratification elsewhere. And believe it or not, sex is a very important thing, especially in the younger days. Today, I'm not sexually very active because, stress of work and brand and money. For me, sex, I just feel is a young man's thing. It's kind of overrated. That doesn't mean there are plenty. I know plenty of 60-year-old who are my friends, businessmen. They love sex. They are crazy about it. They might go. I even know a 65-year-old businessman who he's married, four daughters, four or five daughters, yeah. But he still has girlfriends who are 20-year-olds. Many of them, every single day. Yeah, it's like, oof, man, you're really crazy. I don't know. So it differs. But remember, sex is a game changer in a relationship. Okay, so that you need to discuss with your partner. Point number 14, alcohol. Oh, alcohol is either a make it or break it because there are some people who do not know how to handle alcohol. Now, you might say, oh, Loy, I'm not an alcoholic. I just drink a little bit. But if the guy, when he drinks alcohol, you need to evaluate. How frequently does he drink? How much does he drink? Does he drink with his friends? Does he drink every day? Does he drink only in the evenings? How does he behave before drinking, during drinking, after drinking? Does he have to bring friends home to drink? Does he have to go to his friend's place to drink? Does he have to go to a bar to drink? How much money does he spend on alcohol? All this really matters. I'll tell you, alcohol sometimes can completely destroy a relationship and cause a lot of damage. And in really some sad cases, when a person drinks alcohol, they cannot control their urges and they don't even spare their children. And you know what I'm talking about. So please be careful where alcohol is concerned. And for me, alcohol is a big no-no. Okay? And that's me. That is why maybe I'm lucky I've never touched alcohol right from childhood. Okay. Point number 15. This vice is not actually a vice, but can prove to be a massive vice, is friends and socializing. There are some individuals who love to socialize. They have to go out to meet their friends. They have to go to their football matches. They have to go for their parties. They have to go out. They have to be with their friends. They have to call their friends home, play games with their friends. That itself can impact a relationship because maybe at some point he'll get so bored with you that he'll want to spend more time with his friends. Then he ends up spending more time with his friends and less time with you. So that can be a major deal breaker for especially a woman. And then the question is, you will hang out with your friends, he'll hang out with his friends, and then they will brainwash each other, they'll influence each other. Then what do they do when they go out with their friends? That can create a rift in the relationship, and especially if the friends involved in brainwashing the person. So that can cause issues. Okay. Point number 16, religion. Religion means a lot to some people, to the extent where some people, if you have to marry them, they'll say, no, you have to convert. In some other cases, they'll say, no, I will convert to you. In some other cases, they'll be like, okay, we'll marry, but I will follow my religion, you'll follow yours, which is okay, but the children should follow my religion. So you need to discuss this. How important is religion? And sometimes religion itself can prove to be a hindrance to a relation. Let's say, for example, Muslim, and they can marry 4 times. So maybe initially he'll say, no, I'll marry you only, I'll never have another one. But then one day, what if he says, no, I want to marry again? Or let's say, for example, in a religion, let's say Christianity. Christianity is, even though it has its rules, there are some people who hardly follow. So now, if it doesn't work out, what if he says, no, my religion says we have to be married, but I don't give a damn to the religion, I'll marry. Oh, let's say the person is atheist, okay, and you're very religious. Would he allow you to practice your religion? Or let's say he's Muslim and you're Hindu. Would he allow statues to be kept there at home? And children, which religion should they follow? See, it all sounds very romantic when they say, no, even if you're married, you can choose whatever religion, I'll choose. You need to get this down right. And then if would the parents put the pressure on which religion to follow? In my case, I don't care what my wife does. She prays or doesn't pray. But, my wife was worried maybe I wanted my child to be an atheist or a Christian. I said, no, just teach the child the values that your parents have taught you. Teach her to be a Buddhist, let her pray. So I'm very particular. The only thing I was very particular is Islam because of its drawbacks, especially where, the extreme bits are there. I was not very comfortable, and I've been very open and transparent about this. People call me Islamophobic, whatever. There are good sides to Islam and there are the not so good sides, which may be very few, but the not so good sides are very, very, extreme. So because I lived in a Muslim country for 40 years with Arab Muslims, I've seen very liberal, very open-minded Muslims, real Arab Muslims, but at the same time extreme. So I'm not comfortable. This is me. Okay. So religion should be very openly discussed. Okay. Now, just in case you jump on the bandwagon, a lot of my clients are Muslims, a lot of my friends are Muslims. So just in case you want to slap me with the Islamophobic thing, but I've seen Hinduism, Christianity, and that doesn't mean there are no drawbacks to Christianity and Hinduism and every other religion. Okay. Point number 17, money. Oh, I do not know how much to say now. Before I told you about managing finances, right? This point is not about just managing finances. It's about you both in terms of money. You both, this is what I strongly believe, both should keep separate accounts, especially if you're working. Both should keep separate accounts. Both should agree, this is what I will pay, this is what you will pay. This is how much money I'll keep, this is how much money you'll keep. You must have this written out and agreed upon, because I'll tell you, when you're together, if you both put the money together, let's say, for example, after paying water, electricity, everything else. Now, let's say he wants to buy expensive things. You want to buy cheap and affordable things. There will be a problem. Let's say your makeup is very expensive. He doesn't spend makeup. Maybe he'll argue with that. Maybe he's smoking and drinking. You don't. So this can cause a lot of issue. So you have to be very clear. What will you do with your money? What will you do with his money? And I highly do not recommend that you both have one joint account. No, you keep your account, he keeps his, and you have a joint account where you're very clear how much money each one should put. And I'll tell you, this is very important, especially when you have arguments and fights. And then you'll come to know how much you can spend, how much he can spend. Okay. So that, and money is very important. You must have that discussion. Majority of the cases, they do not have this discussion. And if he's earning, let's say, $10,000, you're earning $5,000, then how do you spend? How do you decide? Let's say, okay, you say, okay, you spend less, I'll spend more. But tomorrow, if you become 10,000, he becomes 10,000. Do the dynamics change? You must discuss all these things. Okay. Point number 18, communication. Now, communication, people never think about this, and they think communication is all about writing love letters and giving romantic, oh, I love you, Janu, I love you, Shanu, you're my darling. That is not communication. Communication is, especially when things don't go well, especially when you have serious discussions. Like me and my wife talk about finances, we talk about investments, we talk about rules, we talk about bringing up the child. There are so many areas of your life, like for example, a simple thing, communication. Okay, like rules. I'll tell you, this might sound like a very silly thing, but the laundry. How do you even separate the clothes? How do you wash them? When do you wash it? How do you throw dirty laundry? Where do you keep it? Toothpaste. My toothpaste, her toothpaste. Where do you keep things? She has a habit of squeezing right in the center and taking the toothpaste. My baby has a habit of putting the toothpaste in the water, and toothbrushes are everywhere. So I keep my area, she keeps hers, the baby for babies. So, you need to communicate all this. Let's say food. I do not like food to be made in a certain way. I like food to be served in a certain way. I like my privacy. I do not like people disturbing me. You have to communicate all these things. And communication is the key, especially, or let's say, in a honeymoon phase, you are in each other's faces. But after 10 years or after 5 years, you'll hardly want to talk to each other. You don't want to do your thing, she'll want to do her thing. So how do you communicate this? And especially, how do you communicate disagreements? How do you communicate fights and arguments? I've had arguments with my wife. We have disagreed and we have had mood swings. We may not talk to each other 3-4 days. So then if I don't talk to my wife, does my wife prove to be humble and she talks to me? Like somebody say, I don't want to talk to you, fuck off. I might just say that. But then after she'll come in, would you like something? I'll say, fuck off again. Maybe I'll not talk to her for 1 week. So how do you get around this? Or do you just not talk to each other, go separate ways? Or he will go and stay with his friends and she'll go and stay with, you need to have this communication. And communication is the key to succeed in any relationship. I'll tell you, even when you break up, communication is vital. If you do not have communication, I'll tell you, it'll create chaos. And the biggest thing is, who is communicating more? the girl's mother, father is communicating and brainwashing her, and the boy's mother, father is communicating, brainwashing him and their friends, it'll create two distinct camps. Communication is the key. Point number 19, secrecy. On one side, you have communication. On the other side, you have secrecy and privacy. Like, for example, does your, like, what are the rules? Do you have your social media and all the passwords transparent and given to your partner? Does the partner do the same? Can you access your social media of your partner? Can the partner do the same? Are you comfortable the person keeps it secret? Are you comfortable the person creates secret accounts? Do you know if the person creates secret accounts? How transparent is all this? In my case, I'll give you my case. My wife has all my passwords, all the social media. I have my wife's. And we don't bother to check either. Seriously, we don't bother to check at all. Once upon a time in my 20s, I was paranoid. I had to know who she is chatting with, who she's talking to, where she. I was insecure at those days. Today, I don't give a fuck. You want to have an affair, leave. You want to break up, break off. I've reached that stage because you can't control people like this. But then again, remember, everyone has their fantasies, everyone has their secrets, and secrets. How much of the person do you know? Has the person told you everything, or has the person kept things hidden, or does the person say, "I will tell you on a need-to-know basis"? All this definitely matters. And let's say you're married, and one fine day you find out, oh, 2 years before meeting you, I was pregnant with another man's child, or the guy tells you, oh, I just sorry, but I have to tell you a secret today. I have a secret child. I'm just saying, how would you react to all this? So, do you have the communication between listen, before we get in, tell me every single thing. Because if later on you give me a surprise, it is grounds for divorce. You must draw the lines, and you must be very clear in terms of secrecy, because secrecy now is extremely important. Yeah. And especially the last thing you need is some great secret. Oh, I accidentally spent all this money. Even that, I spent all this money, I didn't tell you. Or I was earning this amount, I never told you about it. It can cause a lot of issues and rift. So you have to decide secrecy, privacy, how do you deal? And in the ideal world, it'll be, yeah, I know everything about him, he knows everything about me. But I can assure you this, people people are not that transparent. Simple. Let's say if either of you have an affair, a sexual affair, do you think the person is going to tell you? Come on, man. Even me, let's say, for example, if today accidentally I went to a girl and I had sex, you think I'm going to come and tell her, hey, listen, I had sex? I can tell her I'm earning, she's not earning anything, but it'll break her heart. It'll completely destroy her. Maybe for 1 year, 2 years, she'll be depressed. And then I have a daughter. How will it impact them? So remember, in a perfect world, we say secrecy is everything, but people do keep secrets. So how do you adjust with this? And last, if not the least, this is the most powerful point which nobody talks about, is like they say, the end of terms or the divorce. See, nobody gets into a relationship to break up. Nobody gets married to get divorced. Nobody. I've not met a single person who says, I'm getting married to get divorced. But then guess what? Divorce happens. Breakups happen. If you have been in a relationship and it broke up, I can assure you this, the chances that your relationship can break up. How? And if you say no, let me tell you, in the real world, there are people who have been married for 50 years and they divorce. There are people who have had children, 4, 5 children, and they divorce. There are people who are the most perfect individuals and yet they can't get along. This is an ugly reality of life. They can, or rather I would say there can be a possibility for it. There is, even if 1% means there is a possibility. So if there is a divorce, now what? How do you divide the money? How do you break up? Who keeps what? What about children? What about the custody? You must discuss all that. I know this would be by far the most difficult conversation to have, but I think divorce should be discussed. And that is why in the West, those people who do not keep a prenuptial agreement, the guy gets destroyed. Okay, in the Indian society, Asian society, there's no such thing as a prenuptial agreement, but you must have a very strong written statement in terms of written up. Verbally, anyone can say anything. When you're in love, you'll say yes to everything. It should be in writing. Now, you'll ask, do you have anything in writing? Well, in my wife's case, she's uneducated. Sorry. for lack of a better word, she is not so educated in terms of legally. That's the right word to use, legally. Okay, she's a very simple girl, so I can draw out a legal letter, pay lawyers. She doesn't have any money. I don't want to do that. So, but in your case, if you both are, let's say, legally, let's say financially very strong, educated, and you both are equal, same age, I would highly recommend take it down in writing. Okay. It might look very uncomfortable. It might be like, what the hell? Are we getting married for divorce? No. You prepare for the worst case scenario. Because I'll tell you, when bad things happen, no, you'll never know. Let's say, for example, one of you gets hit by a truck. Or let's say one of you has one fine day just had an extramarital affair, or just you went to have fun and you got a STD, a disease that cannot be healed, or you got cancer and now the person wants to break up, or you both, this actually happened, both of you have a joint account and one of the person spent all the money on gambling or lost all the money. Now they wanted to divorce. How do you handle all this? So it's very important to, if not, let's say, if you are not comfortable about in writing, you must have clearly defined rules verbally. If this happens, we'll get a divorce, or if we divorce, this is what is going to happen. And I think that will, if nothing else, at least give you clarity to know what are the rules, what are the boundaries, and where, things can go back to us. So these are the 20 points that I feel a woman should keep in mind, especially when getting married. I know there are many other things. I know there are different variables, but if these 20 are focused on, I can assure you that this will really help in terms of marriage. And yes, there are many points which are very applicable only to Indian societies, but the majority that I've stated, I'm telling, can be helpful for any woman choosing any man. Okay? Good, bad, ugly. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is me signing off. You guys take care.